I think Hi, everybody. I think everybody that's joining us probably knows me, Marissa Ashley, Chair of the Government Affairs. And I'd like to introduce Ron Aronson, who's going to introduce our very important and exciting speaker today. Ron, for you who don't know him, has been 53 years in Kona. He was past president of West Hawaii Association of Realtors. He was Realtor of the Year in the past. He was Chamber of Commerce president in the past. He is a NAR Realtor Emeritus, and he and his wife Sue own Kona Coast Realty. So thank you, Ron, and do you want to introduce Ramsey for us?
I do. Thank you very much, Marissa. Before I do that, I wanted to just make a couple of comments on why I'm up here. The reason I'm up here is because for the last 20 or 25 years, during that time period, the county has been putting R2, which is partially treated sewage water, into a hole in the ground over by the police station, and it's been proven to go out through the harbor. So we have worked with every administration to this point to see if we could stop that. And we had at times thought we'd made some progress. But I have to say that we are making progress now with this administration. This administration is paying attention to all of the things and the problems and the challenges that we have on this island, not only in Kona, but in this island for sewage treatment. And one of the things that they did to show their seriousness is they hired an expert in sewage treatment, and that's Ramsey Mansour. Ramsey graduated from California State University in Fresno with a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering. He's a licensed professional engineer in the state of California and Hawaii, has a grade 3 wastewater treatment plant operator certification in California. He has worked in both the private and the public sectors, has decades of experience and expertise in all aspects of civil engineering. His experience and expertise, including but not limited to subdivisions, hydrology, hydraulics, water and sewer systems, wastewater treatment facilities, solid waste sanitary facilities, including sanitary landfills and transfer stations. In early 1920, he became chief of the Division of Wastewater Treatment and Disposal under the Department of Environmental Services for the city and county of Honolulu. Later that same year, he was appointed director of the Department of Environmental Management for the county of Hawaii. I couldn't be more pleased that the county and Mitch Roth saw him and was able to get him over here to help us. Ramsey, thanks a lot.
Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
So Ramsey is going to go do an overview of our situation here on the island. And we're going to have some prepared questions for him afterwards. And then I think we're going to have a chance to take some questions from the chat box.
That's right. So if you have questions as we go along, then put them in the chat.
I've explained to Ramsey that Ramsey's been going out, and he's just starting to go out to different community organizations. But I think he's hit on the one that's probably the most important. And not just because I think I'm so important. But I think that I really believe that we interface with the public more than most people in other organizations do. And so it's a chance for us as we become more educated, and we will by the end of this hour become more educated. We'll be able to go out and share our knowledge with others and help them make their decisions that they need to make in the future.
Definitely. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invite. And Ron, you are important. I want you to hear it from me as well. And also, I live on this side of the island, so it's my duties as well to make sure that we do look at wastewater countywide. The county of Hawaii has about 7 waste treatment plants. 2 major ones are the Hilo Waste Treatment Plant and the Kealakekee Treatment Plant. And the volume that we treat on the east side is about 2.8 million gallons per day. that is being treated and discharged through outflow all the way to the ocean, about 3/4 mile. Kalakaua treatment plant is designed for about 6 million gallons per day. Currently, we are receiving about 1.8 million gallons per day. That water effluent is being treated as R2, and it's being pumped into a sump that percolates and potentially makes it down gradient, because everything flows to the ocean. It just happened to be that gradients, they live on an island, so groundwater, rainwater, anything that goes into the ground potentially flows down gradient. We have a lot of challenges here on the Big Island. Our Hilo treatment plan, Kalakaua treatment plan, even the countryside treatment plans, it's very small volume on the countryside, in the range of 80,000 gallons to, as low as 3,000 gallons per day. Definitely deferred maintenance over the last 30 years has taken this county and set us back way behind, where our lifespan on our current facility is, in certain situations like Hilo, 13% remaining. Kalakaua treatment plan, it's one of the better conditioned plan than the other plants that we have. It doesn't have that many mechanical. We have the aerated lagoons. The last project we did was about $20 million to revise some of the operational system to make it more efficient. They replaced some of the liners within the aerated lagoon. So our challenge is definitely, we have few challenges on the west side. We have more cesspools in the whole island than anybody else in the whole state. Based on cesspool conversion committee reports that was issued by Department of Health, the state has about 82,000 cesspools. We project probably more than 100,000. The majority of these cesspools here on the Big Island. We assume that probably we have between 55 to 60,000 cesspools. That's a lot of cesspools. So if each cesspool manages about 1,000 gallons per day, which is a standard design for 4-bedroom home, you're talking about 55 million gallons of wash sewage that percolate after, because it's a cesspool, so it doesn't have leach fields. So from a cumulative quantity, you're looking at 55 million gallons. That's a huge. When you compare it to Kalakaua, it's only 1.8 million gallons. So the ratio is so high, so definitely we have to pay attention to our treatment and try to capture as much as we can. And we need to be able to plan smart where we could allow for more connections so we don't have to leach it straight to the groundwater. It comes to our facility, we treat it, then we could be able to convert it to reusable water. That will have more value and we'll have more customers and become more attractive for anybody to come in and invest into the reuse. And that's a big challenge. How would we start the conversion process? Should we continue allowing conversion from cesspool to septic tank or connect to sewer? When the plants were built, they were built based on tributary area, what we refer to as sewer service area. that sewer service area should be able to produce the 6 million gallon per day. And these plans usually are designed for expansion. And the way you fund the expansion is through the connection fees. Unfortunately, the county here for the last 30 years, we have not charged any connection fees. Similar to the water connection fees. When you connect to water, you pay, for connection and you pay for the meter. It's a service. Sewer is a service, but we have not been charging connection or capacity fees. Therefore, that kind of took away from the operation and maintenance over the last 30 years. So the funding was limited to be able to maintain and operate the facilities. But we're working on that. We are working on doing rate studies. We are working on doing countywide cesspool conversion master plan that when you enter your address, it gives you an option of, if you are near within sewer service area and when the sewer is going to come to you and how we're going to go about funding it, all that information, hopefully we'll have it ready by the end of this year or mid next year. We're in the process of negotiating with a consultant to finalize the agreement so we can move forward with the study. In addition to that, we are planning on creating a FACT plan, which is facility planning. The facility planning also will expand the layout of the sewer infrastructure for the sewer service area. We're going to project the costs and idea how to be able to create the fund to subsidize the construction as a capital improvement. So with that concept is that we need to get every homeowner involved to create a sewer district to be able to fund it. But similar to the water infrastructure, most of the water for the semi-autonomous organization, they are funded by the homeowners because they run the water to their facility. So that's one model we need to look at. Even outside the service area, the challenge would be is, septic, let's have a septic tank. There's multiple IWSs. The IWS, which individual wastewater system, that could be your standard septic tank, or it could be ATU, which is anaerobic treatment unit. So, and that usually gives you a better treatment for the sewage, especially with people fronting the ocean, that they don't have a sewer treatment facility nearby. But they were permitted to build, so it's a kind of catch-22, what you do after the fact, rather than managing and smart planning before it happens. So hopefully we can learn from the lesson, the island that's going through, try to stop the bleeding, and try to move forward with a better planning on making sure that we have that infrastructure. Usually you want to build around urban cities and expand outward. Here we're building, outward, trying to expand in the center. So we need to rethink and try to bring that infrastructure, it comes at a very high price because all roadways have been built. So now to go and put sewer, you have to excavate asphalt, you have to rebuild asphalt, you have to dodge other utilities within the roadway or relocate other utilities so you could make a pathway to your sewer collection. You have to lift the house up and redirect the flow because most of the septic tanks and cesspools are being constructed in the backyard. So you have to redirect it in the front. But as we go through these challenges, you guys will play a major part in the future planning of this county and how we should be able to provide the sewer service for future subdivisions and homes as we see. With that, I'll be more than happy to take questions. I don't want to overwhelm you with the challenges, but kind of give you a flavor of it.
Thank you, Patsy. Thank you very much. When we compare cesspool maps and existing sewer lines, there are many properties on a cesspool near a sewer line. Doesn't it make more sense to connect to the sewer rather than go to the septic system?
Yes, it does, especially if you are within the sewer service area. Why would you go ahead and put a septic tank if there's some way we could get the sewer to your property? And this is part of the operational cesspool conversion fact plan that I mentioned earlier. The consultant eventually will have a roadmap for us. I'll be working with them to make sure that we have the right roadmap to be able to provide the services to the people that within the service area. It does not make sense if you are within service area to go ahead and put a septic tank without looking at the possibility of extending the sources.
So what type of federal funds can we get to upgrade and expand the sewer system?
Currently, we have been trying to chase state revolving fund. We had a meeting with Senator Schott's office people. They're very, very good people to work with. We brought these questions to be able to tap into these federal funding. Unfortunately, they limited on the money. It's up to about a couple $1 million, and we're looking at $500 million just to bring the infrastructure countywide. So it's a high price tag because we need to tear up roads and rebuild them. So we're going to continue looking at possibilities through the infrastructure Biden infrastructure plan. We've been chasing it. My deputy director used to be the USDA director, for grants and loans. She has been working so hard. Brenda Ekabamosis, is very knowledgeable of chasing money, and hopefully she could continue chasing some of these federal funds.
You know, there were some projects such as Lone Corner, which is, we used to call it Hammer the Hill, where the owners got together and they used USDA funds. Is that something that we should help people pursue?
Yes, that's one of the options as well. Get the community together and try to maybe create a sewer district or through grants, USD grants, or state revolving funds, and be able to fund the projects, and the money will be given up to the property owners for 20 years or 30 years period. So that way you won't be hit with a big dollar figure. If you're going to put a septic tank, I've been talking to a lot of people within different counties within the state, and usually they've given me a dollar figure. I have people from Hawaii Island flew over last week just to see our facility, and they were telling me about $35,000 to convert their island
To a septic.
to a septic. By organization, Stuart Coleman did a pilot project conversion here on our island on the east side, and it cost him about $45,000 to convert. And that was a pilot program because they have to import soil. Living on the Big Island, as you all know, is rocks. So as you design for your leach field, you have to meet the Department of Health requirement when it comes to percolation rate. So if you don't meet the percolation rate, you have to import soil. And usually the soil will provide the treatment for the effluent. Otherwise, if it seeps through, it's not going to be treated, and it's going to carry the pathogens and the viruses And also, whatever you guys know in the wastewater is gonna end up making it to the drinking water.
So an example of being connected to the sewer, I think, is the new affordable housing that's being built on Hinalani. How is that sewer funded in that project? Are you aware?
Yes, this sewer funded through facility districts. So a facility district is created, the developer, because he doesn't have to go around and get signature from the homeowners or the properties. Therefore, he signed a facility district where we get county bonds to offset the cost of construction, and that cost would be divvied up per parcel. So, the new people that's gonna end up purchasing parcels within that area, they'll pay their portion of that sewer system. In addition to that, they signed an agreement with the county. We refer to it as reimbursement agreement. So anybody that connects to their sewer line, they pay their portion as well to that fund.
Moving down south to Nalehu, Nalehu was on gang cesspools, and I understand the EPA came in on the county on that, and was acting pretty tough with you guys down there. And you agreed to do some septic systems in place of those?
Let me give you some background. When we started, our administration started, we did have administrative order on consent, which forces the county to build a rated lagoon for Nalehu, Hala area communities. We're talking about communities in the range of, Hala, the AOC was for about 109 homes. Nalehu, similar in numbers, in the less than 200 homes. When we started, the cost per connection was almost $500,000 per connection. So imagine the homes in that area were in the range of less than 120,000. Most of them probably they needed demolition to be able to even get a permit. So the idea is, does it make sense to spend $500,000 per connection per house to build these aerated lagoon that was over-designed and it was going to fail? So we came in, we reassessed it, we met with EPA and Department of Health with the idea is we got to make some changes. And we entertained the package unit treatment plan, which is kind of a way lower cost versus septic tanks, but definitely not the scale that was agreed on. The plants were designed for 600,000 gallons per day for 100 units. When the water bills reflected water usage of 30,000 gallons per day. So what are you going to do with the 570,000 gallons of space? You have to fill it with potable water for the system to work. So it was a lose-lose. So that's why I stood fast, and really it was not feasible to continue going with that route. We were successful in renegotiating a revised AOC. And I want to thank EPA and Department of Health for teaming up and understanding our position. Nalehu, we have not determined what's the preferred option would be. We're still under the design evaluation process. the AOC allows us to look at septic with three different options of septic, which under management of the county versus maintenance type of agreement system. So they want to make sure that, you know, it's a model that, you know, could be utilized as long as it stays within the state rules and policies of the department. The other ways, they also were able to negotiate to look at package unit. So rather than design it for 600,000 gallon, we could design it for, you know, 50,000 gallon. And that makes a big difference in cost. So and that's what we're looking into now. Pahala, not only do we have smaller lots, so it's more challenging for IWSs. So, but we need to do our due diligence to look at all options. The other option for Pahala was, Pahala has larger size lots. And they're not as a big community as Nalehu, with having the school and the bakery and everybody else's that also would like to connect if there's a treatment gets there. So there's opportunity with Nalehu that we could work with the communities because there's so many foot traffic, car traffic in that area that it could be a win-win with a more package unit type system. But we have not got there, still in the process of analyzing what's the preferred option.
Wondering about the timeline on the design for Nahalehu and Pahala. How long of a period of time, as you look at designing a system for them, do you look at it taking?
We were able to negotiate the AOC to have everything completed in by 2026 or 2027.
When you were talking about a packaged system, is that what we hear other people refer to as a mid-size system?
It's really what you refer to as decentralized wastewater treatment system. A package unit system similar to what we have here at Coloco, for that affordable housing. If we drive down anyway to Costco, and you see that little boxes, they look like sea trains, like Matson containers, made out of stainless steel. These two units we have, they treat about 32,000 gallons. So the idea is, if you have decentralized communities, it makes sense based on specific site condition to do the analysis and figure out, number one, are they priority number one, priority number two, priority number three? Are they going to have impact to the groundwater? Are they going to have adverse environmental impacts? So we look at all of that before we make the right decision of what system to use.
How long do you think the consultant will be working with you on the design, the different areas? Because I'm hearing a lot of complexity with whether something is near an existing sewer facility or whether it's a community that doesn't have anything at all like that. So it sounds like a really big project to me to even do the consulting and the design. How long does that type of thing take?
Well, remember, we're not doing the design to create a capital project out of it. So we look in the planning. So what we do is the consultant is having a overview of the areas. They're going to lay out the sewer pipeline with the design, the gradient, and the capacity, what have you, as a fact plan, so as facility planning, so we know what capacities we have, how much connection we could add to the system. Do we need to reconstruct another sewer line, or do we have enough capacity within the current sewer system? So that's going to be done, so it gives us a better idea of how to move forward with the capital projects. Because that become our road. Once you create the roadmap, you could take any junction to that road to get you where you want.
One of the things I think causes us the most stress is year after year, we see at the state, they want to put mandates that priority one be changed within a very short period of time from cesspool to septic. And some of these properties are adjacent. I mean, literally a property or two away from the sewer. Some of them, it can't be done at all because they're on too small a size lot. Others, the owners just don't have the funds for, so that continues to cause us a lot of stress, and that's one of the reasons we were very excited to hear from you. We see that as a plan for disaster, that something be mandated to be done in the next 7 years, as we even just look at how many contractors and civil engineers that we have. How do you view that when you see these, state proposals that priority ones would all be switched over in 7 years?
The cesspool conversion committee group consisted of all counties within the state. I think we have a representative that represented real estate agents in the team as well. So when we looked at that and created the report, the idea was if you have 100,000 cesspools, especially here on the Big Island, let's take an example. We got, I think priority number one, if I recall that, in the 5,000 range, maybe plus or minus. Having shortage of contractor consultants, septic designers, you literally have to do X amount of cesspool conversion so you can meet a certain deadline. So having 60,000 here and waiting until 2050 is never going to get that. So we have to be proactive. We have to start laying out the ground. I understand the 2030 was for priority one because the intent was to chase the funding. So if you could make it as a mandate, then we could start going after federal and state funds, saying we have deadline to meet, we need the money. But now everybody's looking at 2050, it's too way down the road, let's not touch it. But I think, are we doing ourselves a favor by waiting at the 11:30 and try to convert 100,000 cesspools? It's going to be impossible. So if you phase it out, you could phase the funding out, you can manage it better. I think that was the intent behind it. That's why I'm jumping on the wagon trying to get that cesspool conversion master plan completed. I think we received a resolution from the state because the 2030 did not pass, but the state has passed a resolution. I don't have the number on me, but and they gave it to every county, and they asked each county to submit the integrated waste management plan or the cesspool conversion plan prior to the start of their next session in the first session in 2024. That way, at least if you have it, you have a financial plan, maybe they could be able to fund it. So you don't want to wait to try to fund 100,000 cesspools. You're looking at $2 billion price tag. And nobody's going to fund that much.
Okay.
So there are some high priorities, and some of the highest priorities would seem to be such as around the pier, Kahaluu Beach area, Pool Cove, where there were cesspools all through Pool Cove. And down by Kahaluu, do you have any, can you give us any solutions to those problems?
No, that's a good question. Kahaluu Beach, we added $300,000 in this year budget because there was a missing segment that we need to continue between the private Hawaii water system and the county system. So we added that this year so we could start looking at the possibility of connecting that, about 69 homes within that stretch. So the idea is, yes, to get them out of septic and cesspool and connect them to a sewer. The challenge with that is we have to put a pump station because we have to mechanically pump their sewer into our sewer line. So we're looking into that. The other homes that they're not connected, we're looking at how to go through the enforcement process. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they got sewer in front of their home, but they refuse to connect. And under our code, we give them 180 days and they're supposed to connect, otherwise they'll be subject to fines. And we need to have our corporation counsel to be able to go to court, and just having the difficulty of recruiting for any type of staffing, it's making our life even harder and harder to enforce. But yes, our intent to have everyone that's not connected and have a sewer line going in front of their house to connect. As far as Puluka is more challenging. That community does not even have a treatment plant. So you have about 150 homes. You're right, they got septic tank, some may still have on cesspool. When you have the king tide comes in, their septic tank become buoyant, and sometimes, it may lift up. So they have a lot of challenges because that also washes the sewage into their front yard to the ocean. So we have been very active participant into their public meetings. I've been talking to their community leaders. I had them set up different meetings with American Water Company, Hawaii Water Company, Manalani Resort. So over the last 2 years, I was able to set these meetings with them and the communities. And I think we're getting closer to resolution, but it requires the commitment from the homeowners. If you want to create a sewer district, you have to have enough votes. 54% of the votes to be able to create the district. So it needs a lot of footwork to be able to bring the communities all together, agree on a solution, and the county would be there to help them through it.
So in that regard, and I'll just name one subdivision that is on cesspools, which is the Pines, and it's not that far from the ocean. Probably doing some damage to the bay. That organization, let's just say that I was talking to the president of the association. Who should I direct him to start seeking help in that planning of that type of a district?
Yes, you have to bring the Pines in because I live there. Thanks, Ron.
I knew you would know that project.
Yeah.
Well, we have others.
Yeah.
We have others just like.
No, it's perfectly fine. I think I did give presentation to our management as well. Thank you for bringing it up. Actually, I was talking to Vi and other organization as well. The Pines is very unique. It was built in the late 80s, early 90s. Very, very small lots. And each home has its own cesspool in front of the house. So
with a tree growing on top of it.
Yeah, well, they accepted mine, which is I got lucky. So it's a challenge, but there's good news out of this. We about less than a mile away from the county sewer. So our hope is, it goes back to the smart planning that I was talking about earlier, is any development that comes within that area literally, we need to change our codes, sewer codes, subdivision codes. Currently, the subdivision code allows for 300 foot. If you're within 300 foot of sewer, you connect. If not, somehow they get an approval for septic. It's unfortunate, it's the code, but we cannot, we're working on revising our code because the way we look at it, if you are within a sewer service area, you need to connect. Distance should not be a question, it's the boundary is the question. Because when you sink $100 or $200 million to build a facility based on a certain parameter for customers, you need to be able to deliver that service to these customers. Otherwise, you're doing them a disadvantage. And I think that's what happened to the Pine. We got disadvantaged through a process that was taken on had they were allowing the expansion and extending that sewer line, which is less than a mile away to our facility, we could have hooked up to that entire community. And since it was built prior to 1991, it's a small lot, but it gets a waiver from the Department of Health as well. Let's assume we didn't have a sewer. Then there's a waiver that we could convert it to a septic, because even though it's a smaller lot, but it was done prior to the 1991 rules, so it was grandfathered in. So the Pines kind of sits in a good place, but the idea is we need to bring all the communities within that 1 mile and create some type of district. I was talking to different engineers and they wanted to use the Pine and other facilities because it's so unique, and use that low pressure system liquid only. So if we keep our cesspools to hold the solids, we line them, and then we pump the effluent, the liquid, into the county sewer, so we don't have to dig up our roads so deep. So we could just do a shallow excavation. Especially at the Pines, they all private roads, not county roads. So I did the numbers, even though I lived there. I was debating I should have not bought there, but literally it was going to cost me $70,000 just to bring the sewer in. At today's dollar, probably looking at $100,000. So it's a challenge, but I think we could design it better. I think there's ways to reduce the cost and plan it better. But yeah, it's a challenge, but I think, thank God that we have a nearby sewer line, county sewer line.
If you didn't have that nearby sewer line, there is an area at the Pines at the bottom, which is open space. Could you put in a secondary system? Could you put in a mid-size or whatever they call those types of systems?
Decentralized package unit.
Decentralized packaging, yeah. That'd be cheaper and neater.
It's really not, long-term, it's not cheaper because you still need to hire a certified operator to maintain and operate that, and that comes at a cost.
But it might work in subdivisions that aren't close to the sewer line.
If they outside the sewer service
Yeah.
area, yes, and that's what we're talking about, decentralized communities.
Because we have a lot of real slopey in Kona, so we have a lot of subdivisions that are up in Kalawa area that are slopey, and so
Yeah,
we're
remember
not gonna push that up the upper highway. So.
We engineers, we can design around gravity. They say in my business, shit flows downhill. So well, we'll make sure we don't pump it uphill. So we can design around it. There's challenges, actually, there's benefit to these sometimes downgrading, but as long as you put the facility downgrading.
Can you give us, I think that, I'll preface this question in that I'm aware that the Hilo system, the Hilo treatment facility is really in trouble. You said it had like, what, 13% life in it? I understand that that's probably a strong It's probably given it a little bit of a positive spin on it. That thing's in trouble, huh? How long is it gonna take now to build this new treatment center? How much is it gonna cost?
Good question.
First phase.
It was, most of you probably know, the county's budget is not as healthy as any other counties. City and counties, I remember my old division probably has that funding just for one division of the department, so that was a challenge for us to look at Hilo, but once we were able to work with our finance department and council members, we were able to execute the design in less than a year. And this is unheard of in the state of Hawaii. You cannot, I mean, we're talking about, we estimated about $104 to $120 million project, probably given to today's dollar, but our budget was about $100 million, $104 million. We were able to put the construction package within 8 months. The project did go out to bid. Unfortunately, it came at $177 million, which is about $75 million over our budget. So we had to reject the bid, cancel the solicitation. We don't have the funding to the county's best interest. We gotta combine phase 1 and phase 2 together, and cut down on the coordination and the cost, and see if we could stay within our county current budget for that phase 1 and phase 2. Our intent, we're gonna have the construction ready to go out to bid January 2024, so we're looking within 6 months. Big opening for phase 1 and phase 2, probably looking at mid-March, late March, and starting construction probably June, July of 2024. We anticipate this project probably will last about 7 to 8 years to construct, maybe less. So we still working on the details, but I think once again, kudos to my staff and the consultant. They have to put up with my constant hammering to get it out, but I'm very proud to say that this complex project and the magnitude, it went out on the street in less than a year.
Well, we're really happy that you're here with us. And I want to thank you, before we go to chat box questions, I want to thank you and to recognize, I think we all need to recognize that we have an employment problem in this island. I understand that you are seven engineers short in your staff.
Yes, if any of you know of an engineer, have him call me. I have myself and I, and
Myself and I.
literally wearing different hats. We were able to make technical decision on the spot. I have 2 engineers. One is the acting chief, and one is also my assistant and the acting deputy acting chief to be. So one on the west side, one on the east side, and we have all these projects and challenges, and one project manager. And we were able to put and accomplish over the last 2 years more than everybody else could, with projects and challenges. I'm so proud of them and proud of our accomplishment.
I think that you should be. I know that you should be, and also I extend that out to the administration. As I said earlier, this is the first administration that's really taken this serious. The neglect of the prior administrations of maintenance and planning was just maybe criminal, right? I'd say short of criminal, but it's amazing that you have come in this short period of time, just a couple of years, and done what you did, and I really appreciate it. We have some chat box questions, and I'm not sure what that means, because I've already done this before, but Taylor is going to work that out for us.
So far, there's only been one question in the chat, and that was from Todd Barrett. He was wondering if you could comment on the Earth Justice potential suit at all regarding the violations of the Federal Clean Water Act.
Since this potential to litigation, I'd rather wait till we figure out, the process forward. I just could make one comment. I mean, this administration and us, definitely, we look at environmental protection, pollution, contamination with serious mind. That's the reason we took a deep dive into getting Hugel out and working on certain projects on Calicated treatment plan. We're doing the cesspool conversion master plan. We're doing the PAC plans. We have done CIPP along LAE Drive, along the Kona Bay. So now it's all aligned, so we don't have infiltration, exfiltration. We were able to replace a sewer segment that was suspended 200 feet above Waikalua River, the stream that was polluting and driven raw sewage through 13 different holes into the system. It's 400 feet long, 200 feet high. We don't have access to it. But through creative thinking, and I had to challenge my consultant and the engineers, who they left the room after but I was able to design outside the box where we literally converted the entire gravity line to a force main. We were able to slip 400 feet of HDPE line, fuse welded into a 400-foot suspended steel pipe. Imagine the work that came around us. Any small mistake could have dropped the entire pipe, but with success, in less than $1 million, now we give that 100 years of life. So these things, makes me proud, because that project was never done anywhere in the world with that outside the box thinking. So we're thinking about putting it into Engineering Magazine and promoting that.
And that is what we need here, and that's what you're doing, is you're doing some outside the box thinking. And we intend, I know Sue and I and some others intend to help you with that outside the box thinking.
Keep coming.
But what else can we do?
There's another question.
What else can all of us do
Oh, there's
here
two
to
questions.
help you? You got another question?
There's two questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is the quality of the Kealakekee water treatment facility effluent compared to a septic system?
It's way better. Remember, Kealakekee is secondary treatment plant. So it produces R2 effluent quality. Septic, usually it's R3, which is, and the difference between the R1, R2, R3 is R1 is your standard raw sewers, only done through clarification, you let it settle, and you capture the solids out of it. That's 3. R2 is oxidation and disinfection. And that's what Kealakekee is. We reduce oxygen into the aerated lagoons to help break down and increase the biological biodegradation of our solids within the facility itself. And then prior to discharge, we disinfect it with chlorine. So we have chlorination chamber. We get disinfected before we get discharged. So it's pretty good level of treatment. You could use that for ag, non-human consumption type of irrigation as an R2. R1, the difference is you add a filtration to it. It's either a UV system or sound filters. And that's why, just to let you know, we received the preliminary design for allocated treatment plan, headwork, odor control, and the sound filter that we received from Lowell Water Grocery. The sound filter will be treating 1 NGD, but that will give us a pilot program. If it works, then we can purchase the same units over for another $2 million, so we can treat the whole facility. So the R1 is oxidation, filtration, and disinfection.
Then with the R1, we could use that for aeration, irrigation, where you can't use R2 in aeration, irrigation, like parts, right?
Well, you could if you do them subsurface.
That's what I mean, so you can't do
You put them
irrigation.
underground, you cannot spray above ground. Even with R1, you cannot spray above ground unless there's no bubbling at that time, so you still have to work with time.
So what we have seen as far as post R1, we're going to use that water to irrigate parks and golf courses if possible, but also particularly the 190-acre regional park that is right behind the police station.
Yes, here's the catch. Let's, it's all about timing, right? I mean, if we end up doing the sound filter and we need user right away, then we have to commit to these user. Regional park may not be able to get that. So it's all about timing, right? And once you commit, you have to commit. And you cannot take it away from other users to redirect
You're
it.
still going to have,
So we have to work the
you're
details.
going to have another 1 million gallons pretty soon of R2 that you'll be able to
Right.
secondary.
Right, like I said, it's the timing and the conveyance system as well.
Yes, I had a meeting with the mayor yesterday, and I told him, I said, you have so many challenges and opportunities, but all we want is results.
Should I leave now?
Do we have another one in the chat? Do you said there was one more? Do you have one more?
He thought that was funny.
I don't think so.
We
It's a
did, we better.
disregard, so.
Okay, here's that one question is, how can we help you? How can we help you? What's the best thing we can do as an organization to help you in what you're doing? Is there lobbying we can do? Is there anything outside of that?
Just continue the communication, attend these public meetings, code changes, voice your opinion when it, I would imagine all of you in the business of housing, understanding subdivision, parcel maps. So definitely, I urge you just to promote smart planning so we don't fall into this predicament down the road. We learned over the last 30 years what Cesspool does to us. Now it comes at a high price. Why continue with the same practice with septic tank if you are the ones servicing? Somebody's going to end up paying for it somehow.
Even if you're not in the service area, we should plan for the future of the service area.
And Department of Health 1162, the Hawaii Administrative Board, Title 11, Chapter 62 is very clear. It treats IWSs as temporary, not permanent. So it's not a permanent system. And it was never intended to be permanent. And we need to take that and run with it. And I think part of it is a lot of people think if I get away with putting septic, I'm done for life. And that was not the intent for it. My fear as engineer, as that being dealing with environmental issues, when you look at certain areas with a cumulative flow, high flow, Eventually that's gonna make it to the groundwater. And you probably heard about the blue baby syndrome, when high nitrogen makes it into the drinking water and people end up drinking it. That's what scares me. Cancer rate could go up, and I've seen it through different communities. That scares me, especially if you have a lot of density on septic tank. That's like turning the faucet and then the sewage just goes through into the groundwater. Like you said, 10,000 homes within one area, that's 10 million, that's 1 million gallons. That's a lot of flow. It's gonna go somewhere, and the least resistance half to it is the groundwater. Let's protect it since we don't have much of it.
Thank you.
There was one
I
more
have,
question, sorry, that came in.
Yeah, one
Well-
more question.
It should be a quick one. Where does the Lee Drive pump station need to be?
Where does it need to be? Where it is now. No, just, it has been designed to, we have multiple pump stations along LE Drive. I know I hated it because I walked that stretch every other night to de-stress, just to get my mind clear. And all I smell is that H2S. It's awful. It's not good for tourists. It's not good. It's all about, the funding. Unfortunately, this what brings the flow all the way from south to, and from the Malta side to, and try to reposition it somewhere else. It's gonna take a lot of money and investment. Is it high priority? It need to be for the sake of beautification of that downtown. I look at that place to be a gem. And, we definitely, maybe as that area get a facelift, maybe the businesses and everybody would be willing to invest in that little beautiful area.
That would be wonderful. There's not enough words to thank you for coming, because this is a topic that is of great interest to us, and we are incredibly blessed to have you in our community and working on all this for us. And so on behalf of everybody, I want to say, thank you for what you're doing for us. And I also want to thank all of the people who serve on Government Affairs Committee. And there are two who do the most on this issue, and I can't sum up and finish without thanking Ron, you've seen throughout, and Sue is spent so many hours, and Lance, everybody knows Lance Owens, has spent so many hours on this issue that there is no community award big enough for Lance or Sue in terms of how we could thank them. But I can't sum up, because Ron has been speaking, without thanking Lance and Sue as well.
Thank you.
So-
Very nice.
So thank you to everybody that came, and we're glad that you joined us.
Thanks to Taylor too. Thank you very much.
Yes, and Taylor,
I'll
absolutely,
do that
positively
as well.
Taylor.
Just in addition, definitely, I enjoyed working with Sue on Sue's since day one. Thank you, Sue. You keep me on a straight line to make sure that I don't deviate. Thank you for the support.
So with that, we will end the meeting, but thank you everyone for joining us.